look good, but she don't got no ties. I walk in, walk out with the side. Squabble up. Squabble up. Been my whole mood this week.
Yeah, I saw you post on social media about it, and just showing my old age. I was like, I don't even know what he's talking about. Squabble up.
You got to keep up with hip hop. It's been out for like 2 weeks.
When someone said like 2 months ago, man, we standing on business. I go, I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah. Got to stand on business.
Yeah, right. That's what we do here at Pints Politics.
As Big X the Plug says, stand on business.
So episode 42, the Jackie Robinson episode.
That's a good one to be.
Yeah, I know, man. If you're a football fan over a baseball fan, it's Ronnie Lott.
Wow.
Everybody knows Ronnie Lott. Literally had a team doctor cut off the end of one of his fingers and tape it up and go back in and keep playing. Yeah.
Pretty tough.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
He was known for laying the boom, though.
Yes. Yeah, he was, for sure.
Well, we got to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, man.
Calmer Distributing, once again, thank you for being our primary sponsor of Pints and Politics.
Yep. And, these fire pit episodes, when it's cold weather outside, we've tended towards to go a darker beer. And this week is Edmund's Oast Chocolate Caramels. Brown ale brewed with chocolate, vanilla, and lactose. Maybe that's what those little speckles are.
Yeah, maybe it's just caramel. Pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
I mean, it's
They're
heavier.
great for winter.
Yeah, it's heavier.
Yeah.
It's got a little caramel, chocolate.
But it's not
Aftertaste.
bitter. I guess bitter is what I don't like.
Yeah, correct. But yeah.
Keep the grapefruit away from me and I'm all right.
I could probably have one or two of these.
Yeah.
And stand alone. It's almost like, a meal. It's thicker. It's definitely not like a Modelo Especial by any means. But, so yeah. Good beer to feature this week.
Yeah.
Speaking of weeks, how was yours, man?
Man,
or should we start with mine? Because
let's start with yours, because mine's going to be pretty long. Had a very long week.
Man, as far as legislative stuff, just working on some bill ideas. A lot of pre-files came out. I know you had one. And pre-files, for the two listeners, are just that opportunity for reps to go ahead and get legislation in on the record that will be read across the desk when we get into session in January, and they'll be sent to committees for their review. And then depending on, the chair's priorities, depends on which ones get hearings, and then they start getting schedules. So, just I'm on 3M. We talked about that last episode. Hopefully I'll be on medical. So I'm looking at medical non-competes, pre-authorization bills, also looking at some direct primary care bills, just things of that nature. Just generally speaking, trying to empower that relationship between doctor and patient.
Yeah.
So
I did see the post about CVS and PBMs, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
That's happening on a federal level, though, correct?
Yep. And have been in touch with some of their folks just about the relationship of how PBMs make an impact on healthcare costs. And then also how can they deliver a better quality product to patients. So it's unfortunate that I believe CVS got named in a lawsuit by the federal government. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll keep an eye on it for the two listeners for sure. So yeah, man, you had an action-packed week up in D.C. You and I were texting back and forth a lot.
So I had two things to go to D.C. for. Number one is the Kids Online Safety Act, which passed the Senate 91-3.
Also known as KOSA.
KOSA is the short version of it. In the Senate version, there was a few changes that I think everyone kind of wanted, but those changes were left up for the House to be able to make some of those tweaks.
Right.
Instead of the House taking up the Senate version, they decided to start over with their bill, and which we know, as being in politics, is typically a delay tactic. It's just so whenever it fails, you can say, "Oh, we tried."
Yeah, it's kind of like
they can say we tried.
The House Energy Bill.
Yeah, it's very frustrating to see that, and those games get played. especially whenever we have children dying.
Yeah.
So I met up there with a lot of the parents who have lost children. You know, just before I took off, we got KOSA was endorsed by Kellyanne Conway, was endorsed by Donald Trump Jr., and then endorsed by Elon Musk.
Oh, wow.
Elon Musk made a few of his suggestions on there and said that this protecting children should be the number one thing.
Yeah.
And I think if anyone is a voice for free speech, Elon Musk has 40 billion reasons as to why to protect free speech.
I think he's got a track record of it.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about how far he's come in politics from left of center over the last few years to maybe even just center now, just for the sole reason of protecting freedom of speech.
Right.
And supporting candidates who are running for national office that support that as well.
And we all want freedom of speech. But what we don't want is all speech to be available to children.
Yes.
And these platforms, if you go and look at Snap.
Or expression, right?
Right.
Because some folks will hide behind, I'm talking about porn or certain books. They hide behind, I have First Amendment right of freedom of expression.
Well, I mean, and in the KOSA bill, it doesn't stop any kid. So let's say you have a kid that is gay and he wants to find information. It does not stop anyone from looking that information up.
Right.
What it stops
in
is
a factual manner.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it stops any social media from using the algorithm to push information to kids. Okay. So whenever you have kids watching Ninja Kids on YouTube and they get a choking challenge video, well, that should never be pushed towards a kid. And whenever I say kid, KOSA doesn't go far enough to me because it should be 18 and under. It only says you can't push the algorithm 16 and
16 and under? Okay.
So it is just a first step.
Mm-hmm.
But I started off, I landed, and then we had a hearing with Marsha Blackburn, not a hearing, but a meeting at Capitol Hill Club with Marsha Blackburn and a lot of conservative news organizations. Heritage is one of the groups that's supporting KOSA. They were there. You had the Bible Network or Christian Broadcasting Network, but there was a lot of those people there. She went through the falsehoods that are being spread about KOSA coming from the net choice big tech lobby.
And how it restricts free speech is the big one, right?
Correct. And the argument saying that we're giving more power to the FTC. I mean, fact of the matter is that online is one of the few things that are not regulated. Mm-hmm. Everything else is. Movies, TV shows, radios.
Yeah.
We don't sit here and claim that the FTC is regulating free speech by putting adult ratings on movies and saying that if you're under 18, you can't go in, but yet that's the narrative. What it's become is the big tobacco playbook. And the big tobacco playbook was to twist it back on people saying, well, you chose to smoke. So therefore we can't be held responsible. Right. Leaving out all the data showing how they made it addictive and how it was harmful. And that's what big tech is doing now.
Yeah.
So they're trying to twist the narrative to put it on. They're saying, well, as a parent, you let your kid get online. Well, no, schools are getting kids online through tablets.
Yeah.
It's not just the parent alone cannot stop their kid from seeing a choking challenge video unless you're helicopter parenting.
Yeah. Well, in herein lies, I think, part of this issue, and it should be part of our conversations, is if big tobacco had have let smokers know, their customers know that this causes cancer, our studies show it. Now, full
Speaking
disclosure,
of, I need a cigarette.
Full disclosure, you make now your adult decision. That would have been different, right? Pfizer, if they had been transparent about their studies prior to warps, the injections, that may have been different, right? If the NFL had
concussions
had have let their players know, the consumers of it, hey, this is going to give y'all some head trauma, and you're going to have mental health problems in the future. I mean, our studies show if they had have been transparent and given
once you see the data, you should be able to give it.
And they should have disclosed it. And that's all you're saying is there is data out there because now we have historical data of social media and the algorithms and the dangers that they pose to our children.
Well, the biggest thing is that
companies like Meta and those folks need to be more transparent and disclose it, and then still be able to market their product, but it's gonna limit their market, and that's where their concerns come in.
Because Meta alone has an advertising dollar. I think it's $260 on each head of each child.
Really?
Like they've already did the math to say this is the advertising and the marketing dollar
Right.
On each child's head. So if they're unable to push their algorithms to them, then that's a whole nother problem. And the simplest way of trying to explain algorithms to people is, so we're watching TV. I'm watching TV, you're watching TV. But whenever it comes up for a commercial, it's going to show me what I typically search for, and it's going to show you what you typically search for.
Right.
But whenever it comes to children, it's pushing harmful content towards children. So it's stopping that. So what KOSA says is that they have to turn in their algorithm, the statistics from their algorithms as to how they're using it. Doesn't say they have to collect more or anything else,
Right.
but they can't use the algorithms for children, and they have a duty of care. So in the situation like with Gavin, the person that attacked Gavin, Meta left the remaining profiles up for them to extort Cohen and extort other people. Under this law, it would create that duty of care to say, Meta, you was fully aware that this was a criminal, and
this
you
guy
left it
was
up.
using multiple.
Right.
Right.
And
Because I
you
think at the
decided to
time-
leave them up, so therefore you now granted, it goes to a court case where you got to show gross negligence, which would be very hard to prove.
Yeah.
And very rarely happens, but it gives the parents the ability, and what big tech doesn't want, because right now they can't be sued, is that.
Right.
So they're trying to fight against it, and they're trying to scare everyone with this narrative.
Yeah.
But
I tell you, I wonder where we got away from products and services that are sold to the general public are getting carve-outs for liability protection.
right.
I wonder when that started.
The only two,
I mean, I'm familiar.
it started in
we're familiar
'98 with big tech,
with big tech and
and then
COVID.
pharmacy.
And yeah.
Yeah. But big tech was the first
mRNA.
one that you can't civilly hold a company liable, and that was in 1998.
Yeah. And you know, when
And there's let me explain this though. There is a difference between, let's put it in the physical world. If I'm at your house and we're just over here and I just trip over a rock and bust my head.
Yep.
Now in the physical world, I could still sue you, but realistically, you shouldn't be held responsible for that. I should have watched where the rock was.
yeah.
But if I come over to your house and you've got booby traps set up and one of them hits me, you should be held liable.
Yeah.
That's what big tech is doing with algorithms.
Correct.
So, and with algorithms, they are choosing to use their own speech.
Mhm.
It's not whatever somebody else put on there. They're speaking for themselves. Therefore, they shouldn't have immunity towards that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, you and I have talked about this before. The one thing that we can do that we don't need legislation for is starting to educate parents, educating kids more. And that's why that was an important component of Gavin's Law, right?
Yeah.
Was we've got to start making parents and teachers and just adults in general understand. Every parent knows you don't let your kid out at 2 a.m. to just go run the streets, as my mom used to say, right? Because there's potential dangers. Nothing good happens after 11 p.m. or 10 p.m., whatever that is.
Nothing's open but legs and ERs after midnight, right?
So you're not. I tell you, we're going to have to have a book of Guffeyisms, I hope we're writing those down. Anyway.
That one was stolen from a TV show back
So
in the day.
parents understand the inherent risks of your parents being out to all hours of the night. What parents need to start understanding, and I believe it's becoming more apparent now versus 10 years ago, is the inherent dangers and risks out there that social media provides to our kids,
Right.
or the opportunities of the internet provide to our kids, and not just kids, adults too. You read all the time about, somebody committing a felony or doing something stupid, and they search for it on the internet, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, how dumb
They say that's freedom of information.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to have all of that information.
But yeah, back to this selling products and services here in our country without facing any liability or getting a carve out. That we've got to end that.
Well, if social media was just considered a product, then it could be covered on the consumer product protection.
Yeah. and I know that's more of a federal thing, but I think it was Dr. Burkholtz out of USC during some COVID hearings down at State House. You know, he made mention of, listen, if you guys don't want this experimental vaccines being forced upon our citizens, there's an easy way to do it. Write legislation that says, if you want to sell products and services here in our state, you are open to
civil liability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If something, were to go wrong in someone consuming your product or service. And that just got me thinking, like, that seems
every other industry. That's the reason. Well, I mean, that's the reason we have, the private right of action.
Yeah.
On everything.
Consumer protections,
right.
all those things.
And anybody could be sued for anything, but it's there so if you do have a problem, the first time that you heard the story about the lady dumping hot coffee on her lap.
Oh, yeah.
At McDonald's, you think, oh man, that's stupid. Like, you should know better. That's not her.
Yeah.
But whenever you actually go through the details of the trial and you find out that McDonald's was brewing the coffee exceptionally high to make people have to sit there for 15 minutes before they could drink it.
Yeah.
And whenever this top come off this coffee, it mangled this woman to where she had to have her lady parts reconfigured due to it. Then you can sit here and say, well, there's some liability there.
Yeah, correct.
But with KOSA, it went to committee, they marked it up, and many of the people on the committee said...
On the Senate side?
No, on the House side. Senate side, so it passed 91-3.
They took that version.
And Senate had many hearings with all the big tech companies.
Yeah.
That's what I was there for in January whenever Zuckerberg came up.
Yeah.
And the CEOs, and they had to drag them in to get them to those hearings. So the Senate vetted it very thoroughly. That's the reason it passed 91-3. Yeah. But whenever it comes to the House side, it goes to committee, markups. No one's extremely happy with it, but it makes it out of committee, so it should come to the floor.
Yeah.
Well, Speaker Johnson and Majority Leader Scalise are not allowing it to come to the floor. And that has been the fight. Only thing we're asking is put it before the people. I mean, we elect, each one of us have a representative, and we don't have a representative to have two people say, this can't be heard. Like, you're breaking the process by not allowing it to be heard.
Yeah.
And that's all we're asking.
And so, and Elon Musk doesn't have a vote in Congress, but you mentioned that he talked about he supports KOSA with some tweaks.
Right. And the tweaks were ensuring that social media would not be censoring people's speech.
And also making sure that speech is protected.
Correct.
Yeah. And so were those...
All of that happened this week.
Were any of those ideas taken up as friendly amendments to...
Yeah, so, there are no amendments because it can't come to the floor and it's already out of committee. But Bill Aracus from Florida, who is the primary sponsor in the House, and he's a primary sponsor, and another lady, I cannot remember her name, but she's no longer there. She lost her race, but it's like a 3-name. But, once it goes to the floor, those amendments will be offered.
Okay.
But without it going to the floor, they're not going to be offered.
How is, just because we're sort of South Carolina state elected officials,
the only one to speak up against it has been Ralph Norman.
So our congressman here in the 5th doesn't support...
He doesn't support KOSA because he looks at it as giving too much power to the FTC, which was the argument whenever Biden was in power and Lena Khan was the person over the FTC. Gotcha. Understand that. That's part of the changes that Musk offers, is pulling some of that away. But in its current form, and Duncan endorsed it.
In its current form, Congressman Norman Ralph doesn't
support it.
Okay. Have you been able to reach out to him?
I have not.
Okay.
I honestly have not. The reason being is because I will get very emotional, and I'm not trying to take my emotion to Ralph. I've always respected the way that he addresses things, but I don't want it to turn into an emotional debate with him, with me losing a son.
Yeah.
So I let others, I talked to him. He was one of the first congressional members I talked to. They said they would look at it. never seen a letter or anything until this past week or so
Yeah.
that he started sending out to constituents, and it's the same letter to every constituent, right?
Yeah.
I met with.
Let me interrupt while we're on our congressman, because, Ralph's a good dude. Has in the letter that he sent out to some constituents, did he offer if these changes were made,
No.
he could be satisfied, or?
No, it didn't say that.
Okay.
It was just sharing his concerns.
Gotcha.
I believe now it's a fully one-page letter.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to. I don't want to.
No. I mean, there's still opportunity to make changes where you would support it. You're saying there's that opportunity maybe.
It's got to come to the floor for him to really have a say-so.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I'm not asking, and I didn't ask any of the.
What about Mace?
So I haven't asked any of the South Carolina reps to co-sign on the bill. I'm not asking them to co-sign onto it.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to co-sign. I think there's over 100 co-signers in the House. But what I'm asking for is whenever it gets to the floor. So Mace is big on protecting not only kids online, but adults as well.
Yeah.
I gave her one sheet. I ended up having dinner with her on Tuesday night just before she got attacked by a trans activist as she was walking in.
Right.
So that became an issue. And then Wednesday night I met with Fry, had a good long conversation with him. And then Thursday morning met with Timmons, had a good long conversation with him.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan already has co-signed. I haven't spoke to Wilson. And I know where Norman stands. Scott and Graham both have already voted yes for KOSA in its current form.
Okay.
So there wasn't a big push on South Carolina. And I just wanted, my purpose of going down there was to ask all the co-signers, for one, to just write a letter to Speaker Johnson saying, just let us have this debate on the floor.
Right.
Let's get it to the floor. But I wasn't asking anyone that was a non-co-signer to co-sign onto it. That's a lot of information to consume to ask you to co-sign onto it. And it does no good to co-sign onto it if it's not going to make it to the floor to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Speaker Johnson did make a statement that it needed a few tweaks. And, a few tweaks are things that can be done on the floor, not to be held up. But it looks really bad whenever Johnson and Scalise are the two men that are in power, and then Meta announces a $10 billion data center in the state of Louisiana 2 weeks ago.
Really?
So that was and I'm not saying that one has anything to do with the other, but a lot of the parents feel that way. But I know as being in office, these economic development deals take time. Yeah. So I'm not trying to say that one thing has anything to do with the other, but it's definitely bad optics.
Yeah, for sure. Man.
And then I had the press conference with Ted Cruz for Take It Down, which is what we went through before. And I was one of the survivor parents. There was a couple of teens that spoke that AI is being used against them. And we're trying to get the House to Take It Down as well, which basically says that if there is something online that you want taken down that involves you personally or using your likeness, that whenever you submit it, if they are not taking it into consideration and removing it, then they can be held liable.
And I'm asking these questions more for you than me, because you're the one who gets in some of the social media discussions, arguments, debates, whatever you want, depends on. So if someone puts out an opinion that says,
this is only images.
Okay.
Images and videos for Take It Down. Not words.
Not like, if a rep says, Brandon doesn't like kids.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not that.
Okay.
It's name, image, and likeness, essentially.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's images and videos, whether they are morphed images and videos or whether they're
some of the, and we can talk about this in the next segment. There were some text messages that went out. I've had them where some dark money group out of Texas sends, hey, did you know your representative Heath Sessions, loves
Kamala?
And it's got like flames behind me. Looks like I'm, literally the devil.
We've had 4 sent out on us this year.
Yeah, correct. So would that have addressed that?
No.
Okay. So
it would not. This
so even though it's
is for adult content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the deep fakes, the
So
revenge stuff.
And as we see, the man in South Carolina who had 4,000 videos from Airbnbs where he is recording people having sex and stuff.
Yeah.
If something like that gets uploaded, then you can demand that it be taken down, and if they don't, then it opens up civil liability towards them.
Okay, gotcha. Well, sounds like you had a good week so far.
It's been wide open, that's for sure. One thing after another.
Yeah, man.
We talking clown shows now?
Yeah, talking about the circus, man.
So, we got another text this week, which made me very unhappy because I'm in D.C. trying to advocate for protecting kids online, and my phone keeps blowing up as I'm talking to congressional members.
Yeah.
And it's all due to another text sent out by the Freedom Caucus. And this one was stating that Republicans sided with Democrats to elect Merle Smith as Speaker. Now, granted, not even all the Freedom Caucus members supported their candidate, but, they send this out in every Republican's district, and they put a picture of Kamala Harris with each one of us.
What does she have to do with it?
It's just elicit an emotion.
Just for the two listeners, and because I don't want to give bad information. Was this a text that was sent out by the South Carolina Freedom Caucus?
It was sent out by the American Action Fund.
Okay.
So
again.
No, it's sent out by the Freedom Caucus.
I just want to be clear for the listeners that we got a text blasted out to certain members of the Republican Caucus.
It's the D.C. dark money trying to attack anyone that's not part of the Freedom Caucus.
And so this group called American Action Fund, which I'm totally unaware of. I've never heard of this organization.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So
I'll stir the fire.
Let's go back to whenever we were doing the caucus rules this year, right? And we're discussing what the rules are going to be, and all of a sudden, the day before we go and meet on rules, we all get a text out against us. Well, the Freedom Caucus members were in Tennessee with a group called Young Americans for Liberty. American Action Fund is the PAC that is part of Young Americans for Liberty. Okay, so the picture that they post all together, posing there with American Action Fund, and then we get a text that day going out against all of us. Now, since then, that was just over a month ago, or right at a month ago, we've had 4 texts sent out against everyone that was in the Republican caucus. The first 3 were scaring everyone, saying that we're going to be voting on Nancy Pelosi style rules.
I remember.
And they put a picture with Nancy Pelosi, which if you think, Pelosi's not Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson is.
Yeah.
Well, aren't these Mike Johnson style rules? If these are the rules that, right?
Yeah.
So let me just twist and let me lie and let me send this out as their approach. And they claim, we didn't have anything to do with it.
Yep. And the reason why I asked that question was because we try to be, and again, we make the best attempt possible, right, to distinguish between who is actually claiming the attack or the text. And then we'll go into the relationship. So I just wanted to be
right.
I just wanted to clarify. The American Action Fund, clearly, they sent out the prior one before we...
They've sent out all 4 of them.
Yep. So, and you make a good point. We went into caucus thinking that we were going to try to bring everyone back in the room, and this text blast goes out.
Calling every one of us rhinos.
Yep.
So, of course, the members are not going to be
right. So then it's
wanting to listen.
Yeah. So it is clear to me that the American Action Fund does not want all of us who pay party dues to be in one room, right?
Well, it's clear to me from looking at...
Hold on. That group wants Republicans to be separated.
Correct.
Right? Okay. That is...
And they're based out of Texas and San Francisco.
Yeah. Now, one less ideal could then draw or ask the natural next question of, well, does the members of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus really want to be in the same room?
I say no,
Right.
because the last time we were debating the rules 2 years ago, Adam Morgan did the same stuff.
Yep.
Right before we were walking into the caucus meeting, and we had the votes to kind of make it change to campaigning for profit.
Yep.
He goes and drops a letter bashing every Republican.
So it's, again, speaking to the facts of the case, so to speak, it could also be said that the American Action Fund doesn't want us all in one room. Fair?
Correct.
Adam Morgan doesn't want us all
Or the Freedom Caucus doesn't want us all in one room.
And Adam was the former leader.
Yes.
Former chair of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus. So, to that point, with us going into a new term, the Freedom Caucus has elected new leadership. For the two listeners out there, that's Jordan Pace out of Berkeley.
Yes. One of our freshman colleagues.
Yep. And also Vice Chair is April Cromer out of the Greenville area.
Co-vice chair with Josiah Magnuson.
Okay. Josiah's out of Spartanburg.
Yep.
For the two listeners. And we've had some interactions with those three.
Yeah.
Josiah sat right across the aisle from us in our first term. Josiah is now in 3M on the 3M committee with me.
And I've always said, I think Josiah is genuine in what he's pushing.
Yeah.
There are times where I disagree, but Josiah is not as confrontational as April and Jordan.
Yeah.
Like blasting everyone as Rhino Caucus and Swamp and Establishment.
Yeah.
He's not often as confrontational as they are.
Well, I think Josiah's heart
is in the right place. I think all of them's heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
But they're being misled by the DC dark money. And now they've got the State Freedom Caucus network, which is pulling that DC money and organizing these attacks. So while Jordan might say that he had nothing to do with the text messages, I find it very funny. And matter of fact, me and Jordan started texting this week while I was in DC.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go into that.
I mean, was it helpful or?
Oh, it was not helpful at all.
No.
Essentially, but I need to explain the text before I even get into that. But
okay, so that was the first one.
Yeah, that was the first one.
The first text was the Kamala Harris.
The first three were Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
Pelosi-style rules.
Gotcha.
And then the rules never change. But no one argues with that. And even members, such as Beach, posted that rhetoric themselves. And I think I replied and said, come on, man, you're smarter than this. What Pelosi-style rules are you saying? Now, every member that's part of the Republican caucus had these texts sent out against them, except for Jordan's friend and neighbor, James Teeple.
Okay, James Teeple being...
a Republican caucus member that replaced Matt Lieber.
Yep, so around the south of Charleston district.
Yeah.
Johns Island area.
So if you didn't have any say-so, why didn't Teeple get these messages? Why was he left off of there?
Okay, so that's how you and Jordan began the conversation, or?
Yeah, so we got those texts. Well, then I'm in there knocking, trying to talk to congressional members, and another text is sent out with a picture of me and Kamala Harris saying that I sided with Democrats to elect Merle Smith as Speaker.
Yep.
Now, my argument when calling back to customers, most of them thought Merle's a Democrat because of the way the text was worded.
Yeah.
And I told them, hey, wouldn't you agree the past 2 years have been the most conservative in the history of South Carolina?
Yeah.
They said, yeah. And I said, that was done under Merle Smith's leadership. Whenever myself and Heath came in and sat in that caucus room week one, and you and I kind of had this belief that, we're walking into the swamp and we're sitting there and they offer the agenda. I remember the smirk that we made at each other like, hey, no way this is going to happen.
Yep.
And they accomplished everything through the House that was on that agenda.
Yep. And I think we've told the speaker that. I mean, I remember specifically that now again, this is post first year.
Yeah.
I think. We were at a caucus retreat or something, and we said, hey man, high fives, speaker. I think we're doing a great job after this year one, because we did fentanyl, we did CON, we did Heartbeat, we did Constitutional.
We're thinking, ain't no way they're going to agree to that.
I mean, how did we pass this just 6-pack of conservative, big piece legislation stuff? And we're like, hey, that bold agenda, you're actually, I mean, we as a caucus are leading the state to where we want to go.
Yeah.
And we thought at the time, again, being maybe a little bit cynical or just a little bit wet behind the ears, a little green, we're like, no way. Talk is cheap type thing. Hey, he showed us. So yeah.
Well, I walked out after dealing with the congressional members.
Mm-hmm.
And as I walk out, I'm looking at all my texts. It was over 400 texts I had. And I'm trying to figure everything out. One of the texts has a picture of P. Diddy, Jordan Pace, and R.J. May. And it's just an image. And it says, Rep. Jordan Pace sides with P. Diddy-style policies to keep R.J. May in the Freedom Caucus. Well,
man,
I see the other text, and they're all about the Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So I posted the picture on my page and just said, I haven't had a great signal all day. We're getting a lot of voicemails and texts about a text being sent out against Republican.
Yeah.
Is this it? I'm sure there are ones for all kinds of members. Wife said the one sent to me had Kamala Harris out on. Man, just never know what to believe with these texts. So I post that.
Yeah.
Immediately as I post that, I get a text message from Jordan Pace. And the text, and I'm 100% transparent. So the text said, take it down. Tuesday at 5:21.
And I'm assuming
he's talking about the picture I posted.
He's referring to the P. Diddy, him, and RJ,
Mm-hmm.
not the Kamala Harris and you.
I said, take what down? The image I received? Just wait until texts come out. You and your group want to spread lies about me and act like it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
He says, my group didn't send any text. AAF doesn't work for me or coordinate with me. Why are you saying things that aren't true? I said, funny you say that. Yet y'all go to Tennessee with them, and then they start the text. Then everyone but your buddy Teeple gets one. I can 100% say I never knew anything about Palmetto Truth ads. I thought you would be different and we could move forward. I guess that DC dark money coming from big tech is just too much to turn away from. When swamp fighters become the swamp, it's a damn shame. I'm tired of being lied about. It's been over 2 years, and I'm about to put my 10 years of marketing experience to work. He said, again, I don't direct AAF. I didn't post or message anything about you. When I message, it's about policy. You just intentionally slandered my character without remorse. Why? I said, well, of course you don't direct them. That would be illegal. Why did they happen to leave your boy Teeple off the text list? I didn't slander your character. You gave a press conference standing by your man. As a father that lost a child to CSAM, I have zero tolerance for those that don't stand against it. You can read, and you're too damn smart to act like you can't tell what the warrant is about. I expected so much more with you taking over, and it's just completely disappointing. He said, I never said those things. Vengeance is a dark road, especially when it's for something that has never been said or done. I said, Jordan, the bottom line is I've watched big tech funds come down to Young Americans for Liberty and American Action Fund to be y'all's voice on a state level while people up here hold up legislation to protect our kids online, putting policies over protecting children. I watch your members sit there and post the same garbage that's in those texts, and you expect me to believe that there's no knowledge? He said, I voted for your bill. We all did. And yes, I've never lied to you, so I do expect you to believe me. I said, you have lied on me multiple times. He said, when? I said, remember the whole 63 rhinos? Well, yeah. I'm wrapping it up. I said, remember the whole 63 rhinos chose not to punish doctors for castrating children? About every week with those skews of the votes. I didn't create that image. I can promise you that. I walked out and it was one of the 400 texts I had today. I'm in D.C. trying to fight to protect children, and both times I have had to deal with the BS text going out against me sharing my cell phone number.
Yeah.
And then no response. But it is very frustrating to me whenever I'm trying to fight for a cause and there are lies being spread to try and make my constituents believe that I support Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
And it's been the same thing. And it's not just them. I mean, it's not just the text. It's the members of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus that put it on their pages.
Yeah, and I get frustrated too. I'm trying to give. Maybe it's just me being optimistic, just the way I look at life.
I'm past the optimistic point.
I mean, I'm hopeful that maybe we can do a reset, and I'm not hopeful because of
there is no reset for me.
Who's leading the South Carolina Freedom Caucus now? I'm hopeful that April and Jordan can be serious. They seem to be serious when it comes to policy, and
I don't doubt that.
And so I'm hopeful that
it's the politicking.
I know. Well, I'm hopeful that maybe if we can work together on some meaningful policy issues, maybe that will start building a working relationship, even on a like you would with a coworker at your job, let's say. I'm not saying you got to go out and be chummy and celebrate birthdays together and all that kind of stuff, but at least to a level where we can be respectful and work together when it comes to protecting kids online, protecting kids in girls' spaces.
Well, we didn't talk about our seating assignments last week. So, I mean, while you're hopeful,
I mean, we can button that up. But I am hopeful that under new leadership, Adam Morgan's no longer there. He had an unsuccessful run for the U.S. Congress. He lost. Good luck to him in whatever his endeavors are, future endeavors, as long as it's not coming back to the State House. And, like I said, Jordan's relatively new when it comes to elected membership. He came in with us. April came in with us. I do think our freshman class can bring some change. And when I say change, I mean meaningful change to just build bridges when it comes to passing good policy that improves our state.
I don't believe that they want to build bridges at all.
Yeah.
That becomes the problem.
What's Guffeyism like number 2? It's like, don't talk about it, be about it.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
So that's what. So there's nothing.
But I'm past that.
There's nothing.
I've given you 2 years to show what you're going to be about.
No. But now those two, Cromer and Pacer in leadership.
Yeah.
So.
And we haven't even started and have 4 text messages sent out against us. I mean, come on.
So
like I'm not.
Hey, that's fine.
Hey,
you can be jaded, cynical.
I mean, I wish I could repeat it as dumb as George Bush said it, but what is it like? Shame on me, shame on you.
Fool me once. Shame on me. Fool me twice.
Yeah.
I won't get fooled again.
I won't be fooled again. But no, here becomes my problem. We've had 2 years of the lie of the loyalty clause that members of the Freedom Caucus were on the Rules Committee whenever this rule was created and proposed. And yet, the whole lie is that we are trying to silence any Freedom Caucus members. And we've had to hear that for 2 years. Matter of fact, I'm arguing with Elizabeth Enns right now online over that through a little Reaganites group, right? And it's just spreading that lie consistently.
Never a missed opportunity.
Oh, no. If I see BS, I'm going to call it out. But anyway, so we've had that for 2 years. Whenever there is, so after that text, it's funny, Fitz News about 2 hours later reports, after they shared my post, that the Freedom Caucus said R.J. May has been suspended for some time now. Was their words.
Oh, yeah. I'm not as active on social media as you, but I tweeted that picture of some time ago. He's been suspended. And I said, when you say some time ago, you mean like this past Tuesday?
Right. Because on December the 6th of this year, Josiah Magnuson, their co-vice chairman, stated the caucus met, had a vote, and chose to keep RJ in the caucus because he is innocent until proven guilty.
Yep. And there's video out there when they had a press conference, they asked.
Right.
I think Jordan Pace was claiming there was 21 members of the Freedom Caucus, the state South Carolina Freedom Caucus. He was asked about it. He said, well, why wouldn't he be? He's a member of the House. He's in good standing. And
April Cromer said he's a upstanding member.
Yeah. And again, that's the great thing about opinions. Everybody's got them.
Whenever it comes to kids, I'm going to hold your opinion.
Well, I mean, there might be some other things
Yeah.
that we have strong opinions when it comes to RJ and some of his tactics. But nevertheless, I got on Twitter myself, and when Pace did not answer that question, I'm like, man, this is word salad, man. And again, even if we had a Republican member or a Republican caucus member who had just in his personal life,
if it would have been Merle,
done something stupid, or just done something downright disgusting and criminal towards kids, we would call balls and strikes.
Right.
I
would demand a vote.
I would guarantee you, inside a closed caucus room, the majority of the room would be like, hey, look, we get that he has been proved beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law, but I'm not associating with that type of charge.
Right.
Or that type of investigation. And until due process in the court system sort of goes through its process and finds its conclusions, I will not associate myself with that guy.
Right.
And I would vote to suspend him, remove him from the Republican caucus until that's adjudicated.
And if I lost that vote, I would walk away from the Republican caucus.
And again, that's what I was saying on Twitter. I was like, guys, it's one thing if the guy was maybe doing some small time financial crime, cheating on his taxes. That's one thing. But getting
talking
caught,
about children,
getting caught with a joint, right? Something small time.
Depends on
like
which
that.
state, because some states it's legal.
But this isn't that.
Right.
And just the suspicion of possessing CSAM material and maybe, again, and I'm stating this for the record, your mind tends to wander. Your mind tends to go to the worst possible cases, right? And so, and I'm not stating that RJ did this. We just, in a previous episode, I think we talked about, this is what has been reported by Fitz News. This is what
state,
the
Post
state,
Courier,
some legitimate mainstream media talked about, the raid on his house, the search of his house, what was retrieved from his house. I think Burroughs' office has talked about within 90 days.
Yeah.
Things will happen. So everything is leading one to believe that RJ is under serious scrutiny for some serious crimes.
Right.
Fair. And to be even associated with someone who is under investigation for that isn't a good place to be if you're in politics.
Well, they realize that, but I don't think they realized that until I posted that picture talking about P. Diddy policies. And
so he is suspended now,
according to what they said on Fitz.
Okay.
That they said, but that nothing had come out about them being suspended until I posted that picture, and then 2 hours later they're reporting it.
Yeah.
That becomes it's like, oh, well, I guess this is the game they're going to play, then we need to pull it down. But if you think I don't care what your issue is, you want to try to twist the narrative on me, I'm always going to come back and say, well, what about you not standing up for children?
Well,
you had the opportunity to, and
Correct.
you chose to stand by your man instead of standing up for children. And I'm going to beat that drum because it is the most important thing to me out of anything that we can do.
And
we have to protect the most vulnerable.
And you and I have had one-on-one conversations with South Carolina Freedom Caucus members who came up into the legislature with us. They were freshmen with us. They were part of our class. And I think you and I have had one-on-one discussions with them about, guys, I get he hasn't been convicted in a court of law. I get it. But this is heinous.
Well, they don't talk to me. So you've had one-on-one.
Well, I mean, one of them's your desk mate.
He won't talk to me.
I can't believe
I sat
sold me
down
the river for that.
Only words that he said was, I would prefer you not to sit here. And I said, well, tough shit. That's not the way that this works. Looks like we're going to have to kiss and make up.
Yeah.
That's the only words he said to me. I even said happy birthday. And he waved me off like I'm not talking to you.
Hey, so did you ride your horse here? Are you chasing foxes through my neighborhood? What's going on?
You don't like my jacket? It's my smoking jacket.
Yeah. I was like, so welcome, Lord Guffey.
Hey, this hat is actually from Ireland.
Yeah.
But the jacket is my warm tweed jacket.
Yeah.
So sport coat look, but you know.
Hey, as long as you realize that we're approaching Christmas, not Halloween, Conor McGregor.
I wanted to be warm.
All right, so yeah, we talked about a little bit of our organizational sessions in the last episode, but we didn't tell the two listeners about sort of how we got hosed. So what happens for folks who didn't catch the last episode is every time we come into a new session, we're in the 126th now, everyone basically gets up, goes to the back of the room, stands along the walls, and every county's name is wrote on a piece of paper, thrown into a fishbowl. And every member has to let Charles Reed, our clerk, know what county they're sitting with. You and I are with York, so we let that be known. So
typically the delegations sit together.
Yes, correct. And so in our first term, it was 6, 7 of us, however many it was, and we were chosen first. And so we got primo real estate in the room.
Well, according to Tommy. Tommy wants up at the front.
We were, if you are looking from the back of the chamber, we were in the front right below the board.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons Tommy chose that for us was because a lot of times he's got to quickly swap out the speaker because something comes up. And it could be something policy where the speaker's trying to get two sides to agree. So the speaker may pull maybe two folks from either side of an issue or a bill that we're debating into his office, say, hey, what can we do, to pass this? Other times it's the speaker's got to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
And so Tommy's got to run up or whatever.
I just assumed Merle stayed in the bathroom a lot. I didn't know it was about the whole.
So that's why we were there. So this go around, we were standing along the wall, again, hopeful that we were going to get pulled again.
Yeah.
And man, county by county gets pulled. Real estate starts shrinking.
Next to the last vote.
Yeah. We are like next to the last county gets pulled. You and I, because we're second termers, we have 2 freshmen on our delegation in the House. That is Jackie Terrabil out of TDK, and that's David Martin out of Fort Mill. And they are sitting side by side. We didn't want them out on their own on an island, so we said, hey, Tommy, Randy Ligon, y'all stay with them. Guffey and I will go find a desk somewhere else.
Which the only reason, I want to point this out, the only reason there weren't seats with each county delegation is because the Freedom Caucus, being the destructionists they are, decided not to sit with their county delegations and were spreading out amongst the room. So instead of having 6 seats in a row, you only have 4, 3, 2.
Well, I don't know, and again, just because I don't know for a fact, what I didn't understand was the rhyme or the reason of some of the members. I mean, they would have one member just go sit in the middle of...
Just to be destructionists.
I mean, yeah. So for the listeners who don't know, each desk is comprised of 2 seats, and they are together. Right. So you would have one member just go take half of the desk, basically, and no other Freedom Caucus member would sit with them. And they started speckling and spreading out across the right side of the room, and I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so, but because of some of that, we got these one-offs. And when you and I are trying to find 2 seats together, we were just unsuccessful. I had to go way up front on the left side of the main aisle. And I'm sitting with a freshman member from Greenville. You went to the right side, which is our home turf.
And there's only 2 seats available to choose from.
Yeah.
One was directly in front of RJ May.
Yep.
Which I made it very vocally known that I'm not sitting near RJ May.
Yep.
And the other seat that was available was directly beside of Thomas Beach.
Mm-hmm.
So
Roll call.
Yeah, roll call. And he's sitting basically where we were sitting last year.
Yeah.
One row back. And beside of him is Kill Martin and Joe White. And I walk up and I go to take the seat. And Thomas Beach says, so-and-so is sitting here. And I look, there's not a name, it has not been called, because they were the county behind us.
Yeah.
And he said, I would prefer you not sitting here. I said, well, tough shit. That's not the way that this works. Looks like we're going to have to kiss and make up. And I took the seat because I'm not going to go and sit in front of RJ.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up with the seat. Of course, my desk mate not talking to me at all.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. But the bad thing is I now have Micah Caskey sitting right behind me, which him and I are two of the more vocal members in the body.
Well, I think both of y'all have
different approaches.
Yeah, but you're both pretty, bold. You have no problem antagonizing or stirring it.
I have no problem.
And now
I
don't mean stirring it in a bad way.
Yeah.
But you will call it
like I see it every single time.
And you'll call it like you were sitting talking to a guy on the street.
Yeah.
In a bar, a restaurant, or the house chamber. You'll just call it that way, And I think Mike is very similar in the sense of he ain't going to wax poetic.
I'm not going to talk differently to you whenever I'm in front of you than I will whenever I'm online.
Yeah. Well, I think the two listeners have experienced that.
Well, I think the funny thing is that this narrative has been spread like I'm a drunk or something. Like people think that I get drunk and then start running my mouth online. I don't even keep alcohol at home.
Yeah.
And it's like, for you, do you just think that I have to be drunk to say what I'm going to say?
The answer is no.
Not at all.
It's a very quick no.
Yeah. My filter's gone regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. I got it. We just had our holiday.
Now, I have asked to move seats.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because now David and Jackie are kind of off on their own because Tommy's going to be up at the podium a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if Jackie is 100% committed to the Freedom Caucus, then maybe she can sit beside Beach and I can go back and sit beside David. So that way she's got guidance by the group that she chose and David has guidance by the group that he chose.
What'd she say? She may even prefer that.
I may talk to her, but I haven't talked to her yet.
Yeah.
I needed to get permission from the speaker first.
Oh, to even?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But I don't see as beneficial for me and Micah both to be sitting there in the sea of Freedom Caucus members because I could see that getting very confrontational very quick.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man. Let the people know, see the differences. But yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but I've had several members ask, and they said, "Hey, man, what's up with you and Guffey?" And I said, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, I mean, y'all aren't roommates no more.
I know
You ain't
he's
desk
left
mates.
me.
You ain't desk mates no more." I mean, what? Who did what? I mean, who did the other wrong? I was like, "Oh, it's definitely Guffey."
He's left me. He moved out of the condo,
and then the desk thing was just luck of the draw. But yeah, I had Senator Peeler come to our Christmas party that we hosted last night for our 200 employees and their families, and had a good old time, just thanking all of our folks for the hard work, and it's the reason for our success as a company. And anyway, Senator Peeler and some of his folks came, and we got to talking, and he said, "Hey, man, what happened with you and Brandon?" I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, I mean, you aren't even sitting together no more? I'm like, "Oh, come on, man."
I mean, everybody knows Heath has always been my get-back coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I get worked up, and he's like, no, not yet, Guffey, not yet.
Yeah.
Calm down, let's let him talk. I get fired up about something, and he's like, well, look at it from this way. Let me calm you down a little bit.
Yeah.
And now I don't have that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a different approach this year. We shall see how it goes.
That's right.
Because I'm sure Beach or Caskey's not going to talk me down too much.
I think this session will be a good one for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. So let's move on to football.
Yeah, man.
How about them Tigers got in the playoffs by beating SMU?
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I watched that game together, and I did not think it started out great for a Gamecock fan. I think y'all went in at half 24-7.
Lighting them up.
And I was like, all right, I can live with 48-14. I want Clemson to blow their doors off and just blow them out to where the playoff committee cannot put an 11-2 SMU team in, because Clemson Tigers just demonstrated they're not a worthy foe. Their strength
and
of
the Gamecocks just beat us.
Correct. We just got y'all by a field goal. So we, I thought that would improve our resume, right? ACC champ is 10-3 if they had a won, which you did. 10-3 Clemson Tigers that we just beat by 3 at their place. So it was going great. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know if SMU just made some adjustments at halftime or just got hot. But, man, they came storming back, and I was like, oh, great. And, man, what did it get, 31-31? With 16 seconds or so left?
Yeah, it was.
And
Clemson won with the NFL.
Y'all literally make a great special teams play, return the kick to, midfield, make a play or two, and y'all's freshman kicker comes out on the field to kick I think it was like a 53.
I think it was 56.
56 yard as time expires. And what I loved about it, and man, I would love to meet this kid, is him turning to y'all's bench and winking at Dabo.
He's from Cornelius.
Yeah. Sets up and nails it. Just nails it, man. And, hey, congratulations, man. That was awesome.
I am upset that the Gamecocks did not get in the playoff.
Yeah. I'm not one of those Gamecock fans that wish for Clemson's demise. Like I think I've told the two listeners before, my sister, who is 12 years older than me, went to Clemson. And so I grew up a Tiger fan. But then when my brother and I both went to Carolina about the same time, became Gamecock fans. So, but yeah, congratulations to Dabo and the squad there from.
Well, we got to play Texas in Texas.
I think you have a chance, and I know everyone says no way. I think Texas's schedule was a weaker one of the SEC. They lost to Georgia twice, and now again, y'all got thumped by Georgia. 34?
First game of the season.
It is.
Yeah.
And Georgia beat Texas both times by 2 touchdowns. So I don't think you're that far off is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. That home crowd in Austin, Texas will definitely be a factor. But from what I saw from the SEC title game between Texas and Georgia, I'm not fully confident in yours.
Well,
he makes some questions.
He's getting some NIL $4 million offer. And then, Bill Belichick just accepted the head coaching job at UNC, Chapel Hill. And the rumor is that Arch Manning is talking about transferring to UNC now.
Really?
To play for Belichick.
Oh, wow.
So we could see a huge shift.
That would be something.
Between the conferences.
Yeah, that would be something. But, y'all, the interesting games. So let's go back to the college playoff for a second. At no point should Boise State have a first round bye.
No.
I do. That has got to be changed. It should be the best 12 teams.
And I think South Carolina should be considered.
It shouldn't be automatic bids. Again, some of the best teams in the country right now have 2 losses. So Georgia in a down year beat Texas twice.
Yeah.
So we'll see. This is the year I think anything could happen. So I'm not saying that Boise State will get rolled out of the bowl game.
See how Genty does.
Right.
You got to stop him.
But that offensive line, obviously, is good. And, and Genty is, a Heisman finalist. But
you can't keep him out of the playoffs.
No.
So that became the question. So the only open spot that was in debate because of Clemson winning the ACC, the only spot that came within debate was SMU versus Alabama. Which one's getting in?
Yeah.
And
Alabama had a bad loss in the recent column.
But ultimately, they said you can't punish you can't punish a team for losing in their conference championship.
So I don't think there should be automatic bids at all. I think you pick the 12 best teams.
I could agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care that if you have...
And in the strength of schedule.
Correct. If you have a playoff committee who knows anything about college football, they know the strength of a conference. And let's be honest. I'm a Gamecock fan. You're a Clemson fan, so you probably are pro ACC. I'm pro SEC. But we both recognize that depending on the year, the strength of the conference can...
Yeah, Florida State was undefeated last year.
Yeah.
They were crap this year.
Yeah, correct.
There's a big difference.
And so just depending on the athletes that go to each school, sometimes, think about it. If you look at last year's conference alignment, the SEC, if Texas had won, would have had a Big 12 champion, right? The Big 10 this year has a Pac-12 champion in Oregon, right? If SMU had have beat Clemson, they would have had, what conference were they in?
Conference USA or American?
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What you have is this conference sort of rah-rah thing. It's good for college football, but, I just demonstrated that.
I just thought it was funny this year that the Gamecocks were so good, they finally realized that they could chant USC instead of SEC.
Oh, here we go. We don't even chant that.
Oh, no. You absolutely chant SEC. Every game, SEC.
No,
SEC.
That's Gamecocks.
No. That's what I'm saying. The Gamecocks chant SEC.
Game.
No. That's whenever we scream out, suck.
I need to bring you to a couple games again.
Yeah.
We do not chant SEC. I think that's the SEC commercials you see, and then you sort of...
Nah, I've been to more Gamecock games than I've been to Clemson games.
Well, that's just because they're more fun.
I honestly will say I enjoy going to a Gamecock game more than I do.
Oh, yeah.
Now, beauty-wise, Clemson's great.
Oh.
But it's not the same atmosphere, especially with Sandstorm and the night lights.
Yeah, I know. And
as long as you're not epileptic,
yeah, correct.
Williams-Brice is a place to be.
Well,
at night.
You always go into Todd Rutherford's tailgate. Y'all always have a good time. All right.
Well, all right. Thank y'all for listening.
Yeah, man. What'd you think? Edmund's Oast.
I thought it was good.
Brewing chocolate caramels.
Yeah, it's a one beer for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. And I love the Christmasville glasses from Rock Hill's Christmasville.
Yeah, man.
And I want to say one more thing before we get off. Regardless of whether you are in our area or any other area, it is Christmas time. Let's support our local businesses.
Oh, yeah.
Amazon is not sponsoring your kid's soccer team. Target's not sponsoring your kid's soccer team. And whenever a tragedy hits, like what happened with my family, it wasn't those big companies that stepped up. It's all the small businesses that pull together.
Yeah.
And we are going to lose our small businesses if we don't get out and support them. So make sure while you're shopping, get out and support your small businesses.
Yeah, and I know we have small business Saturdays and Cyber Mondays and all that kind of stuff. But, for you and I, we got a great Main Street in Rock Hill. Looks like you went to JP's recently.
This is not a JP's, but
I was joking around off air. I was like, "Hey, welcome, Lord Guffey."
yeah. My jacket with the little suede up top.
Yeah, he's going shooting and fox hunting after.
And my hat is actually an Irish hat from a local company in Ireland.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, you got the quarter zip too. The Manning brothers would be proud.
Man, I've been in DC and it has been cold as crap.
When you walked over to sit down, I was like, do I need to go change?
I was trying to
Hey,
make sure I'm
this is
saying
probably
more.
one of the first and only times I felt underdressed when I was around Guffey. Usually he's the backward hat.
Hold on,
you
let
know?
me go Kango on you. There you go. Is that better?
And no, straight up looked old English, baby.
Fox hunting.
But
I'm trying to get invites to those Charleston fox hunts and stuff that they do.
But yeah, so thanks for listening. Thanks for Comer Distributing for
Yes.
for sponsoring the episode and sponsoring the podcast.
And thank you to our listeners.
Yeah.
Can't do this without you guys.
Yep.
Because our sponsors won't pay for it if you aren't listening.
Yeah. So tell them how they can support.
Yeah, please go on. If you go to pintsandpolitics.show, you can follow us on any platform. Please give us a rating. That helps boost it up. And then choose to follow on every platform. So you might get a notification if you choose to follow us on Facebook that just says new reel put up, and maybe you've already watched it. But having those follows helps.
Yeah.
It helps get the message out.
And when the reels come out, like, share.
Yes.
And
invite friends.
Yeah. From however you're listening, subscribe to the show.
You can go onto our page. It costs you $0 and invite all of your friends to come and join our page or to follow our page.
Yeah.
And that would be the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, out of a 60-minute or a little over an hour episode, there's at least a solid 5 or 10 minutes that you will find interesting.
We'll try to get that real up there. This week it was, there isn't much open after midnight except for legs and hospitals.
That's a great way to close out the show.
Guffisms.
All right. Well, thanks for the two listeners for listening in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.